Hello Soma fam, so today we're going to learn how to make this beautiful gown with a puffy sleeve and a flare lower part. And this flare is not just going to be a flat one, so it's going to go in a bit and then down, and then the back is going to be a bit longer. So this is what we're going to make use of, this fabric. So we're making use of this fabric to make it, so just stay tuned and watch how we make magic. So let's get right into it. So here is the fabric. First and foremost, measure, this is 25 inches on 4, making 50 inches length. So you want and then the breadth of it is 16 inches. So we want a very wide sleeve. So you want a puffy sleeve, this is how wide it has to be. So it's on fold and there are 4 of them. That means there are 2 pieces of it. And so we're going to cut it the way you just seen that diagram. We're going to shape it that way and cut very easily. Go in by 2 inches by the side, then curve all the way to the edge, and then the down part come down by 3 inches and go all the way to the edge. So in this one now we're at 14 by 168. This is the flare at the lower part. So 14 inches for the breadth, and then for the length of it, it's 168 inches. So we're going to do the gathers. So in this case, you'd see that the footer is placed with a sellotape and a paper so that it doesn't stick to the footer, so that there'll just be an easy slide while sewing the gathers for a stretchy fabric. So once dealing with a stretchy fabric, this is what I always do to maneuver it to be able to sew. If not, there's a restriction and it doesn't sew smoothly. So in this case, you'd see how smoothly it's going all the way. So I'll sew the puffy sleeve, I'll sew the gathers for the lower part, and then get right into the outfit itself. Once this is just handled, weaved, and kept by the side. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to tell people about this page, and then comment, express yourself and tell me what you think about all this that's going on. So thank you to my 500 subscribers, God bless you. And so now you'd see I made the flare lower part, so I made the gathers at the top for that long length, and you'd see the more the length, the more the flare. Now this is for the body, the usual. So for the length of this is 36 inches. So if I leave half inch at the top part, inch at the bottom part, like this. And so now we'll take the measurement from the top to the bottom part, the usuals, which is the shoulder to upper bust, shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, to waist, to hip, all the way to the down part. So you'd see that this fabric is folded, and then I ensure that I faced the parts that elastic is in the opposite direction. And then for the round neck, I went down by 3 inches, and that's just the front part. So took all the measurements I just mentioned. Shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust. I'm using a blue chalk. So you'd see that the measurement I just took now is shoulder to bust, which is 10 inches, shoulder to under bust, which is 14 inches, which I'm marking now. And then we'll have our shoulder to our waistline, 16 and a half inches, yes. And then I'll have our shoulder to our hip, which is 25 inches. And we just marked it with our chalk. So I made sure I have a linking print, and then use our ruler to blend every one of them. Cutting a body shape is very easy. Once you take into practice, you're doing it all the time. Before you know it, it's just it's easy peasy and a breeze. So I'm thickening it so that you'd see, and then I'm cutting both back and front the same thing. So there are 2 folds, and that's what I'm indicating by opening this up. So the back has been extended by 1.5 inches. So I'll show you on a close-up. You'd see I also use a measuring tape and show you how 1.5 inches has been added at the back part. That's for the neckline. The only difference between the 2 of them is the neckline and the arm. For the front part, we'll just go in by 1/2 inch, but for the back part, we'll do it normally all the way to the bottom part. So you'd see here, the back part, like I told you, 1.5 inches. This is the shoulder, is usually 15. So 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5. And then I'll measure that, make sure I leave a 1/2 inch sewing allowance, make a box. Use our curve ruler to form the shape, because we used our measurements, our upper bust, which is 8 inches, and then the breadth, which is 7.5 inches. And then we'll make sure we'll have our slants, which is 1 inch slant at the shoulder part, and then come down for the neckline by 4 inches for the front, like this, and then 3 inches for the side. So you can either do 3 inches or 3.5, depending on how wide you want the neckline to be. And then curved it all the way down with our curve ruler. Then pinpointed all the sides, the shapes of all the sides, the hip, the waist, the under bust, and the bust. So after doing that, I'll just mark it all around till the bottom part. Sorry that I can't see it as clear as you should, but you understand by my description and the talk, okay, how I'm getting all this. So I'll mark based on the measurements taken. So I divided all the shapes by 4, because they're going to be 4 parts.
and ensured I left my sewing allowance. And then the dart in the middle, I went as wide as 4 inches from the midpoint, from the front 4 inches and all the way. So from the underbust to above the hip by 4 inches. I marked it all the way down and ensure that the midpoint of it, the length of it is 9 inches. So the midpoint of 9 inches, 4.5. I came out by half an inch and blended it all the way in like this. So our dart is formed. Now that has to be 1 inch in the middle. And then that will be used to add to the shape, so that when we sew it in, it will just give it a perfect shape and lift. And voila, we have our body shape formed. So all we have to do now is make sure we cut half or 1 inch. The best thing is to leave enough allowance. You could do 2 inches because ladies tend to increase or decrease quite swiftly.
You see from the neckline, I marked it at the top, but I didn't cut it out. That is for the front, and then for the back, it's going to be a smaller path. It's going to just go down by 1.5 inch. And then you see the difference between the front and the back for the arm. I didn't cut it out, just marked it. So when I would want to cut it out, I would separate them. Now I would want to deal with the bottom parts of the raise at the top. So this is the design I drew out. So this is what I want to achieve. So you can make your length of the lower part a bit longer if you want. But for this material, the material, I had to manage it. So this is 12 inches I made use of, and then would have to go up by 4 inches. So I always make a construction like this to be able to get a picture of what I want to make. As you can see, the measurements at the side, that's just a breakdown. So let's get right into it. That is having to raise the bottom part up by 4 inches and sliding it down by the side. So make sure it doesn't affect the part where you have to sew. So where you're going to sew, you leave it, and there I left 1 inch. Like I told you, I would have left more. So you can leave more, like 1.5 to 2 inches allowance for increase or decrease. So this is going up by 4 inches, and then using our curve ruler to blend it and get to that point. So remember that it's going to be sewn down. So ensure that you leave a half inch. After marking it, ensure you go down again by half an inch. So you can go higher, let's say 4.5, so that when you add the half inch, it's 4 inches. Do you understand? So you have a seam to be able to sew and attach the flare at the lower part. So this is it, and we're good to go. So after cutting this out, I placed the lining on it. I didn't plan earlier to join in the lining, but when I saw how light the fabric was and how transparent it was, I placed the lining, and this would allow it to be able to settle in thicker and more beautiful. So this is it after the lining has been attached to the fabric. Then you just see the finishing, very beautiful and neat. I weaved the edges and we're done with the front part. Went onto the back part, joined them together. This is the flare, the lower flare, as well as the sleeve, and so I joined them together. Not forget to sew the dart underneath the arm. That is very important. It reduces that fullness underneath the arm. And if you want to watch how to attach a zip to the gown, you watch the shorts on how to join the zip to the gown at my previous video, and we're good to go. So we don't need to go to all the nitty-gritty of attaching zip to the gown. Alright, that was English, I'm just teasing. So don't forget to like and subscribe, follow, and just leave in the comment section what you think and what you'd want us to add. So thank you very much for sticking around. Here is a finished product. It wasn't able to fit to my mannequin because it's very slim, and the mannequin it's voluptuous and has a bum and excess bust and likes you get. So here is the finished product, and I can assure you it's going to look gorgeous on my client. And to have a wonderful day. Bye.